Good evening, everyone. I'm back, and I just figured out that my Streamlabs spot isn't working properly. Guess I have to check that afterwards. What did I want to say? Let me just quickly, oh, for crying out loud, something is really not working here today. Well, doesn't work. Okay. Nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back streaming finally. So I had surgery on Tuesday as planned. Everything went as planned. Everything went pretty smooth, but you can see I still need a little bit of support when walking. This is what they took out of my foot, by the way. These pieces of metal wire, some kind of wire that was in there. So after half a year in my body, it has finally been removed. So, today's topic is planner review, but it still bugs me that the CloudBot isn't working. Let me just quickly try something. Let's see whether it works or not. Um, Let me just see whether. Huh. Maybe it's working after I. Uh, Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. If it is a moderator, why doesn't it work? That's the question. Because quite obviously it doesn't. Let me try one more time. Nothing's happening. Okay, this is kind of annoying. Definitely. Okay, I have to check that afterwards because that is definitely not normal. Maybe they're having an issue. Maybe there's an issue with my account. Maybe something's not working properly. You never know. Well, okay. In that case, let's switch to our main topic, our planner review. But before, or are we doing that after? No, we will do the schedule for next month afterwards. Okay, so as you know, I'm a planner girl. I love to plan, I love to use planners, I love to decorate my planners, and I love my planners to look at least a bit fancy, I would say. This is my 2022 planner. And as you guys already know, this is my 2023 planner. So you can see the similarity, I assume. Same company. So I took a couple of notes so that I don't forget anything in my review. So they're all in all four categories I'm going over in this review. We're starting by the actual measurements of the planner itself, so the size basically. Then we will have a closer look regarding the binding, um, the material that is used, better to say the paper, and the actual layout in there. And then, of course, at the end, there's some kind of summary. Well, we'll come to that. Okay, so let's start with the actual size of the planner. Let me just quickly check whether I successfully uploaded. Yeah, I just uploaded a couple of pictures to my Google Drive, a couple of pictures that I took out of here because I had to edit them beforehand so that no personal information is shared. So The size. This one is a basic personal planner. Personal Planner is the company that is producing these planners. It's a company from Sweden. In Germany, they are called Persönlicher Kalender. And it's called personal because you can customize your planner to a certain degree. So back in 2021, when I actually ordered this planner for 2022, I think there was just A5 available, but I could be wrong. I only recognized A5, to be honest. This is the classic personal planner size, A4. A5, I'm sorry. A5 is in reality 21 by 14.8 centimeters. This one is 20.5 by 20.5 by 14.8 centimeters, as far as I know. So it's almost A5. Let's just say A5. 5 millimeters don't matter here. So, in addition, it has this not exactly huge, but bigger binding. And the thickness is, I would say, about, let me see, in the original version, I would say 1.5 centimeters maybe. Mine is kind of thick because I glued paper over my spreads and stuff, but I'm going to show you later. That definitely thickens up the planner itself. So the thickness isn't the original thickness, just to make this one clear. So this is what we're working with. Regarding the sizing, I would say it's not exactly too small or too big. It's actually, for me, the perfect size. Um, if you're someone that likes to carry your planners in your purse or handbag or whatever, then it probably might end up being too big. Personal Planner offers different sizes now. So I'm quite sure they also offer a size that's more handy when it comes to carrying it around. But this one, I would say it's almost too big to carry it around. It depends on what kind of handbag person you are when you're a planner gals, okay? Different thing. Um, but I would say it's not your typical pocket planner. For me, that's totally fine because this one was always more or less in my office and stayed on my desk. So it's more or less a desk planner for me. But that is usually the case with my planners. I tend to leave them at home because at work or something like that, I have different planners. So this one is strictly for my personal life, and this one is left at home on my desk. And I think you can see it because it's not damaged at all. I once spilled yogurt on it, but I think I managed to remove all traces of it. Yeah, sort of. It was strawberry yogurt. So, as I said, slightly too big, probably when you like to carry your planner in your purse, but for me, perfect size. I don't carry it around. It's more some kind of desk planner, I would say. That's it for the size. So regarding if I had to give it some kind of stars, let's say on a scale from 0 to 5, I would say that regarding the size, we're definitely 5 stars. 5 of 5 stars, definitely. For me, it's definitely the correct size. Let me just quickly note that down, just for afterwards. Okay, 5 stars for the size. Then up next, we have the binding. This one does have a wire count binding. In German, it's called Drahtkammbindung. Nice word, isn't it? This does have pros and cons, to be honest. The pros are it's absolutely flexible. It lays flat when you open it, so no issues here. And you can add pages to it wherever you like, and you can easily move those pages within your planner. So this is something that makes it super easy and flexible, and that is something that I definitely love about this planner. Um, but this kind of binding can sometimes be a bit difficult to work with when you're trying to write inside your planner around the actual binding around the spine. So if you have a I'm right-handed, for example, and I would like to write on the first page that's now placed lower than the rest of the planner, it's hard to write near the inner. Oh, how's it called? Talking is kind of difficult today. I'm so sorry. So near the binding, it's actually hard to write. You would always have to flip it over and then do the writing. But in the end, there is a possibility, and I would say the pros definitely weigh heavier than the cons. So for me, overall, I do love this kind of binding. The personal planner company offers two kinds of this wire comp binding. The silver one that is used here, and there's also the possibility to choose a white one. It's nice that you have two options to choose from, but I would actually love to see a third option being added, namely a black wire, maybe. White is a difficult color to work with, and it can get pretty messy after a while. If you use it for a whole year and you have white wire, it can get stained. So I prefer definitely getting the silver one so far, but I wouldn't mind getting a black one, to be honest. So regarding the binding, I would say on regarding the stars, it's 4 of 5 stars. This one star is missing because it's kind of difficult to write sometimes in here because of the binding. And the colors you can choose from are sort of limited, and I would rather prefer black over white. But in the end, I'm more a person that loves to choose silver. So this one star that is missing is basically because of the issues when writing in there. Okay, so we have 4 stars. Then we have the material. The material, or better to say, the pages in here. So all in all, cover and pages are pretty sturdy, so they don't get damaged too fast, and they definitely last pretty long. Um, then there's this plastic cover that goes over the front and over the back, which is also quite nice. Unfortunately, it starts to warp after a little while, but I mean, in the end, it's just there for protecting the cover itself. Um, Unfortunately, when you have this plastic cover over the actual cover, it definitely reduces the intensity of the color of the actual cover. So this is kind of not that nice, but in the end, you could take it off if you really wanted to. So I left it in place for protection matters. But to be honest, I prefer this instead of this. I mean, this one looks just amazing, and it's kind of sad that the color lightens up so extremely when you put the cover over it. But all in all, I would say the material is great. I can't find anything wrong with it. So the paper is great to write on. I myself do write with a basic ruler. No, not ruler. Oh, Jesus Christ, today it's definitely difficult to think and talk. With a simple pen. I don't use gel pens, and I don't use a fountain pen in here. Fine liners until a certain degree, sometimes, not always. I sometimes do fill out the weekly spreads in my planner using a black fine liner from Stabilo, this one over here. But apart from that, it's mostly this simple pen. So, and for that, it's super easy to write in. No pleading so far. The only thing that I realized is that when you have a really, how do I say it? There are these brush pens with a lot of liquid in there when you write with it. Those sometimes can ghost, but so far I haven't seen any pleading. So I'm definitely happy with the paper in here. Um, Apart from that, there is also the elastic. This isn't the original elastic, and that's for a reason. The original elastic that I ordered with this planner was a golden elastic that was, at least from my point of view, slightly too tight. So it kind of warped the covers even more, something like this. And that's something I definitely couldn't look at for too long. And therefore, I first removed the elastic completely, and then I simply used one from another planner I had lying around, which is a bit looser and, from my point of view, a better fit. But I guess that depends on how your planner actually look like. As I told you, mine thickened up pretty well, due to all the stickers and scrapbooking paper and whatnot in here. So the slightly too tight fitting elastic is just one con, just one simple one. And as I said, I love the cover. I know that the color intensity isn't that great when you have the plastic protection over it, but there's still the possibility to remove the protection. So I can't complain there. All in all, I would say 4.5 of 5 stars regarding the materials that I used. Oh, and I forgot one thing. It's the ruler that is in there. I took it out here and put it in here. Now I have two in here. So this was the original ruler this beauty came with. Um, For the new one, I ordered a gray one. This ruler is actually great if you use it as a divider or a bookmark, but using it as an actual ruler would be kind of difficult because it's hard to read. The numbers on there are printed in the same color as the ruler itself, and honestly, no. Yeah, you can draw a straight line with it. That's okay. But apart from that, use a normal ruler. But can't complain. I am never using my dividers at rulers, so this is just a simple bookmark for me. Nothing to complain about. Therefore, 4.5 of 5 stars. And where the heck? Oh, here it is. 4.5 stars. Okay. Then regarding the layout. Okay, so layout is complex when it comes to this planner because the main concept of personal planner is that you're able to customize the layout of your planner. You can do that, as I mentioned at the beginning, to a certain degree. So back in 2021, when I ordered this planner for 2022, there was this standard layout of 12 month in every planner. They changed this just a couple of weeks ago, I think, and offered other options like 3 months, 6 month, and 9 month, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's these options. I'm not quite sure, but they're options now. But the standard version back then when I ordered this beauty was 12 month. And you have monthly and weekly overviews. So it's basically a weekly planner, and that is standard. That's something you can't change. Um, you always have 2 pages for each monthly spread and 2 pages for each weekly spread. So the monthly spreads can't be customized. The only thing you can customize regarding the monthly spreads is the first day, whether the week starts on a Monday or a Sunday, which is definitely a good option because Americans love to start on a Sunday. We here in Germany or Europe, let's say Europe, normally starts the week on a Monday. So options are great regarding this. Let me just quickly see. Yeah. So apart from that, starting your week on Monday or Sunday, there are no further options regarding the monthly spreads. Which doesn't matter, to be honest, because the monthly spread, as it is on 2 pages, offers enough space to put everything in there that you need. You also have a column on the right where you can add notes. This is the column that I use for my goals, my monthly goals, where I can check them off or migrate them to the next month. Um, so the boxes of the actual days in this monthly overview are definitely big enough from my point of view. It is a pretty good overview and neither too small nor too big. So I would say the classic layout for a monthly spread and a good one. Nothing to complain there because I don't think there's anything that needs to be customized in this context any further. So from my point of view, perfect. The weeklies. The weeklies are something that you can customize extremely well. So as I said, for each week you have 2 pages, a left and a right page. So you can decide whether you will have the whole week spread over the whole 2 pages, or if you, for example, would like to have overview of the week on the left and just some space for note taking on the right, like my design, for example, then you can decide whether you want to have a horizontal or vertical layout and whatnot. So there are a lot of options. And even if it's not exactly the option you would prefer, there's definitely some sort of option for you. I ended up using a vertical layout. I think it's called vertical, right? Yeah. So, but before that, I had a horizontal. I'm later going to show you some pictures of spreads in here, so I will come back to that point later. Let me just quickly check. Oh, and besides the weekly overview and the other section you can choose, or whatever you choose to have in your weekly overview, each overview contains 3 modules on the bottom of the pages. Those can be customized as well. You can, I don't know, add lined boxes in there. You can have something to color. You can add quotes. You can add whatever you like. And I think even if it's just this tiny little space down there, it has a lot of potential because this is the perfect place for trackers or little notes. I, for example, do have one box that is titled projects, and every time I finish a project in a certain week, I note it down. On the other side, I have a box where it says self-care special. So in there goes everything self-care that I think should be mentioned. Like, I don't know, I took some time off just to sit around and drink some tea and read a book. Um, I don't know, I slept in or whatever. Things like that that I simply think are important. You could also use maybe an hydration tracker in that area. So whatever strikes your fancy. Just tiny little boxes that can be used in whatever way you like. And I think that is a pretty good idea. So, what else is on my list? Just making sure I don't forget anything. Okay, that's it regarding the weeklies. Then, apart from the monthly overview and the weekly spreads, you can add additional pages, spreads, and sections. Like, for example, an annual overview. You can add pages for goal setting. You can add habit trackers. You can add pages for notes with dot grid, simple grid, line, whatever strikes your fancy. So there's a lot to choose from. Um, the selection is huge. Unfortunately, I'm missing a couple of things, like, for example, something as easy as a birthdays list or something like that. They don't offer that. I created one myself in my planner for 2022 and for 2023. I was hoping that in the meantime they would add something like that, but unfortunately they didn't. So I actually proposed a additional spread, but I'm not quite sure whether this has been processed already or not or whatever. I just sent an email to them. So um, let's see what they make out of it. But I think I'm not the only one complaining that there's not a birthday list or something similar available among the additional spreads. But apart from that, they have really a good selection to choose from. Quite creative sometimes, to be honest. And you can also choose specific spreads when you're, for example, a student or a teacher. So they definitely do offer something. The order in which you then organize your planner, the different sections, can also be customized. I didn't really realize that back in 2021 when I ordered this planner, or at least I didn't really care about it, I think. Um, but in my new planner, I definitely used this option to have it in a order that I feel comfortable working with. I love to have my spreads in a certain order, and this is something that I managed to do in here. Something that I really did not 100% manage to do in here, but in the end, I think it was just 3 additional spreads. Those were some annual overviews that I didn't use and ended up ripping out, to be honest. And I used the pages for monthly goal setting and also didn't use them because they mostly focus on 3 goals per month, and that was definitely not enough for me. So I ended up ripping them out as well, to be honest. And then the third additional section I added was notes, but then I just had just a few pages left and realized I would have needed more, to be honest. So in this note section, I, for example, also created a future log, a birthday calendar, a list for home improvement ideas, a list for my PC setup, a list for videos, my whole YouTube stuff, general ideas I came up with, Christmas presents, presents in general, orders, and whatnot. And that filled up all the pages of the note sections pretty fast. So this time I tried to focus on what worked last year and what didn't, and therefore ended up not adding too many additional fancy spreads. I went with a couple of lists and a couple of pages for notes. I'm later going to link the setup video in the description below. When you watch this at YouTube, you can check the description below. There's a link to a video where I explain in detail how the setup of my 2022 calendar looks like. All right. So I think that's it for This page, what do we have here? Monthly layout. Already mentioned that. Okay. So in general, regarding the layout, I figured you can't really change the font style. This is okay and not okay. Um, I can understand that they don't want to have, I don't know, a huge variety of fonts to deal with. But being able to use just one is too limited, I would say. I would have preferred to be at least able to choose from maybe five or something. Um, yeah, a basic font is good, but sometimes you would like to have something a little bit more extra, a little bit more fancy, maybe. So, yeah, I definitely missed the option to change the font. That unfortunately didn't work, especially on the front page where I have this quote around here. I would love to change it even more, to be honest, except for just, I think it was the font color. So this is something that I would love to see to make it possible to change the font even more. Um, and I figured that they use always a certain color for a certain month throughout the whole planner. And that means that they're working with 12 different colors in each planner, no matter what kind of layout you choose. And no matter what kind of color scheme you actually choose in your planner regarding all the rest of the options you have. Um, it's a pretty good attempt to get some organization in there, and it's a pretty good approach. I think that's the appropriate word here. Um, but I would love to have at least a second option, namely to use just one color instead of 12 different ones. That's mainly because the color stays the same for even when you, I don't know, maybe choose like a darker layout in general, but then you have month where you have yellow up there or pink or blue or whatever, and not every color really fits the actual layout that you choose regarding background images and stuff. So I would actually love to see a second option there, where you could choose the different colors, or let's say just one color for all the month. So that's not too colorful in the end. It looks a bit too fancy from my point of view. But that's about it, I would say. Apart from that, I'm definitely happy with how the planner can be set up, the options to choose from. The 2 pages per spread is a really good option for me because I love to have, as I said, my calendar on the left and then the option to write notes and checklists on the right. Um, so I can't really complain about that. But I would say, as there are some options missing here, does it really justify to? Hmm. I'm not sure whether to give it 4 or 4.5 stars. Definitely not 5 because um, there are too many cons. Uh, let's say 4.5 because in the end, the options that I used are definitely enough for what I needed. So, of course, here and there, if I would have had an additional option, I would probably have used it, like I said, the font style. Let's say 4.5 stars. So, summary. How would I sum up my review? Well, I would say all in all, I love the system. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought this one. Um, it's a great system due to the different layout options that you have. Plus, it's a weekly planner, and I am definitely a weekly planner type, so to say. Um, in the end, I know that there's always something that you would like to change or another option that you would love to add to the whole customizing process. But you're not able as a company that sells planners to please every single one 100%. I'm quite aware of that. So, with the options that I have here, I would say I'm able to create a planner that I love working in, that I love working with, and that I love using in general. And it is a system that is working. So my planners for me doesn't have to look don't have to look extremely fancy. I mean, yeah, it's kind of nice if they are fancy to a certain degree, but in the end, the system you're working with has to work for you. If it doesn't, then the planner doesn't work, and it's basically useless for you. So, therefore, I would say all in all, definitely a pretty good system. And if I had to judge and give it some stars overall, I would say it's actually 5, even though I had a couple of categories in here that didn't fulfill 5 stars. All in all, if I have a look at the greater picture, so to say, I would say this planner system is worth 5 stars. So, yeah, it has everything I need, so I can't complain. But I'm someone that knows how to make things work if and to tweak things a little bit here and there. So maybe a tiny bit of creativity is needed here, but in the end, I can highly recommend this system. I'm not affiliated with them, just to mention that. I just love their products. I'm not 100% in love with the stickers they offer, but I love the planners. And as far as I know, they expanded what they're actually offering regarding planners. They also have a Filofax like planner system now. And I think we can expect even more options in the future from them. So I assume that by the time I'm doing a review of my 2023 planner, there will probably be even more options for the 2024 planner. So, oh, and something, by the way, that I forgot to mention. You can choose the month your planner starts in. This is also great. This makes it quite flexible for you, depending on whether you're a student or a regular worker. Um, because for students, it's important that planners don't start at the beginning of the actual year, but the beginning of the actual school year. So I could make my planner begin in July. I could make it begin in October or whatever. So there are a couple of options with this planner, and this is something that I really like. Even though I love to have the classic version starting in January and having December as the last month. So, yeah. All right. All in all, as we said, 5 stars. But now let me show you a couple of couple of pictures I took of spreads that I created. There aren't that many, I think 5 weeklies and 5 monthlies. Where is my Google Chrome? You're going to start with a monthly, I think. Let me just quickly change my setting. Does it work? Yeah, it works perfect. Okay, so this is the first monthly that I created in my planner. Oops, these tend to fall down. It's the first monthly spread. It's January 2022, and I started by gluing scrapbooking paper over the pages, ripping paper into stripes and gluing them down, adding stickers, self-made stickers in this case, and I don't think it's too fancy. Fancy came later. But yeah, this is sort of how I started. And as you can see, like I said, basic layout, but pretty functional. Then, what month is it? Oh, it's February, and it started to get a bit more fancy. So I added additional paper here. I added washi stickers and other stickers as well. Crit paper, stickers I made myself, plus a couple more. Brown paper, I think it was a golden gel pen that I used to work with here. Not sure, but I think so. Yeah, it could be a golden gel pen. So it got a bit fancier after a while. Then we have June. We're added golden stickers. Yeah, I think those were actually file effect stickers, but I'm not quite sure to be honest. Not sure. Um, yeah, scrapbooking paper and golden stickers. Then we have October. That was my autumn spread. I used washi tape to mark the school holidays. And those leaves are actually printables that I created myself. So I drew them myself as well. Um, yeah. This turned out pretty good. Brown paper again. I'm in love with brown paper. Confession here. I just love it. Yeah. And then last but not least, there is December, the last spread of 2022, the last monthly spread. This one definitely got a bit fancy with gel pen, golden stars, different kind of stickers. Those boxes I made myself actually. I simply created them on my PC and then printed them onto sticker paper. Then those lights are actually made with, I think, the Sizzix Big Shot. That was a die cut. Then those stickers on the left side with a bit of glitter. So this one definitely got pretty fancy. Yeah, and as I said, that's the last spread of 2022. Now let's check out the weekly. So we have a January spread. So this is a spread where I started working with, I think this is, yeah, that's washi stickers, some self-made stickers, and some basic blue paper that I cut out and uh, glued on there. Apart from that, simple grit paper. Oops. And this is February. Even more paper, again, washi stickers. So this was the style that I used back in February. As you can see here, we have self-care specials and projects. I didn't fill out those two boxes every single week, so but most of the time. This one is one spread I really love, even though I didn't really have to fill it out to the brim in this case. So there wasn't there weren't that many appointments in that time, but nevertheless, I love this spread. This is basically um, washi tape in the background, IKEA washi tape. I'm not sure, do I have my washi tape around here? Oh yeah, I have. Let me see. Should be somewhere around here. Okay. So one of my first washi tapes I ever bought was one from IKEA. And I simply used this as a background, then added some simple stickers on there, washi stickers for the flowers, and some simple boxes. So nothing too fancy, but I love how it turned out. Then this one is May, and it got a bit more colorful. The boxes this time are boxes that I created myself and once again printed out onto sticker paper. The background is paper from Flow magazine. Yeah, it's Flow magazine. I think it also was the Book of Paper Lovers. I have two editions of that. And this one is a September-October spread, which is actually the week of my birthday. And I'm an autumn person, as you can see. I love fall. So the background and the whole design and the color scheme is pretty fall-like. And then on my birthday, I was gifted a package of tea by, I think it was Kappa. And every single tea bag is individually packed once again in this package. And there is always a teacup with a quote on there. And this was one of those packages that I simply cut out and glued in there because I sort of found it pretty cute. Yeah. So this was fall. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So just an impression of how this one looks like. Perfect. I think Streamlabs still isn't working. Hmm. This is kind of annoying, to be honest. Love it. All right. That was the main topic for today. So apart from that, I actually don't have that much to talk about today because, as I said, I just recovered from my surgery. But I am already planning for my 3 weeks training that is taking place in February, which reminds me that I wanted to show you the schedule for February. Let me just quickly change the folders here. Ouch. Ah, foot hurts. After a while, you don't know where to place your foot, so it doesn't hurt, to be honest. It's kind of annoying. Um, no, not this one, this one. Oh, perfect. 125%, and let's switch back to Google Chrome. So this is the schedule for January. We're here on this, on the 19th of January. And I already added a tab for February. And as you can see, we are having a normal schedule on just 2 different days here, on the 30th of January and on the 24th of February, because I'm already leaving around here, which means I have to cover quite a lot of time that I won't be available for live streaming. But I am trying to produce a couple of videos for you guys that are going live at YouTube in the meantime. I already worked on a couple of them, completed, I think, 3 or 4. So there's still a lot to do. But I also have a lot of topics in my mind already. So stay tuned for that. As I said, I will try to upload 3 videos per week or 2 videos when there is a live stream. So this one can already be checked out here. As soon as I figured out whether I'm really managing those 3 videos per week, I'll let you know. In case I'm not able to produce that much content, I will adjust it right here. So just for you to know. But at the moment we're around here, so there's still a little time left until I have to leave for my training session. All right. What else is there to talk about? Not much, actually. No, not really. I'm working on a couple of things that I like to prepare for the actual training because I won't be at home for that period of time, and therefore I decided to prepare some minor projects like something to hand sew and stuff like that, but I will probably do a video about that. Um, then something to draw properly, something to journal, which reminds me that I also have to work on that for the last couple of days. I totally forgot that. Um, yeah, and that's basically it at the moment. What are we doing tomorrow, by the way? Totally forgot. Topics. Today is planner review and tomorrow is blank. Oh, we are working on a small zipper pouch, right? Where is it? Where did I put it? Ooh, it was somewhere around here. I don't know. I'll find it. So we're hand sewing a zipper pouch at the moment, and yeah, I will try to find it. So apart from that, I haven't got anything planned, to be honest. So I will probably come up with something until tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll just wing it, sort of. So yeah, I would say that's it for today. Even though it's not even an hour, but I think we covered everything that was we wanted to cover regarding my wonderful planner for 2022. As I said, I'm going to link you the videos for my 2023 planner. There's a playlist, especially for this one, and there's also a playlist for this one. So I'm probably going to post links to both in the description. Mm, and apart from that, I would say have a nice evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in your day. See you soon. I will be back live streaming tomorrow at 11 a.m. German time in German. Then tomorrow at 4 p.m. German time, again in German. And then on Monday, same time. And the next English speaking live stream will be on Tuesday at 8 p.m. German time. So I would say see you then. Thank you for watching. Have a nice evening and bye bye.